No one expected a simple parking dispute to turn into a nightmare worth millions, but the moment the HOA president touched that car, everything changed. Ethan's father had worked his entire life to build a legacy, not just for money, but for meaning. The car parked quietly in the driveway wasn't just rare, it was priceless. A custom-built collector vehicle, restored by hand over 15 years, insured for $2 million. It stayed covered, protected, and untouched until the HOA president decided it didn't belong. The notice came without warning. A single paper taped to the windshield, cold and official, accusing the family of violating parking rules that didn't even apply to private driveways. Ethan's father tried to explain, calmly and respectfully, but the HOA president didn't listen. His tone was sharp, confident, and final. 2 days later, while the family was away, the sound of a tow truck echoed through the street. Neighbors watched in silence as straps were tightened and metal scraped against metal. The HOA president stood nearby, arms crossed, watching as the car was dragged away. By the time Ethan's father returned home, the driveway was empty, and the real damage hadn't even begun yet. Ethan's father didn't shout when he saw the empty driveway, he simply stood there, frozen, as if his heart needed time to catch up. The HOA president claimed the car was abandoned, even though it had been driven just days earlier. When Ethan demanded proof, the response was cold paperwork and smug smiles. The car, they said, had been taken to a holding yard under HOA authority. No apology. No explanation. Just power on paper. Hours later, the call came from the storage facility. The man on the phone sounded nervous. He explained that something had gone terribly wrong during transport. The straps failed. The ramp slipped. The car hit the concrete, hard, when Ethan and his father arrived. The sight was devastating. The hood was crushed. The custom frame was bent. Paint that took years to perfect was torn apart like paper. This wasn't damage. It was destruction. The yard manager quietly admitted the truth. The HOA president had rushed the process, ignored safety checks, and insisted the tow happen immediately. Everything was documented. Every shortcut. Every order. Ethan's father didn't cry. He pulled out his insurance file instead. Inside it was a number that would change everything, $2 million, and now, the insurance company wanted answers. The insurance investigator arrived the next morning, calm and methodical. What he discovered turned concern into alarm. The car wasn't just expensive. It was irreplaceable. Hand-machined parts, discontinued materials, and custom engineering that no factory could recreate. The investigator photographed everything, measured every fracture, and reviewed every document. His final conclusion was quiet but devastating: total loss. When the HOA president received the insurance inquiry, his confidence cracked for the first time. He tried to backtrack, claiming authority, claiming misunderstanding, claiming it was routine enforcement. But the investigator didn't care about HOA rules. He cared about responsibility. Then came the report: the HOA president had acted outside policy. He approved the tow alone. He bypassed required notices. He ignored written objections from the homeowner. Every step violated HOA bylaws and state property regulations. The insurance company approved the full payout. $2 million. But they weren't paying quietly. They were coming after the person responsible. Legal letters arrived. Emergency board meetings were called. Neighbors whispered. The same man who once walked proudly through the community now avoided eye contact. Ethan watched it unfold, realizing something powerful. This wasn't just about a car anymore, it was about accountability. The HOA board meeting was packed like never before, every chair filled. Every voice tense. When the insurance company's legal representative spoke, the room fell silent. The claim had been paid, but now the insurer was seeking reimbursement. Not from the HOA. From the individual who caused the loss. The HOA president, gasps echoed across the room. Documents were displayed on a screen. Emails. Signatures. Recorded calls. Each one showed the same thing. The president acted alone, aggressively, and knowingly against advice. He had ignored warnings just to prove control. Board members shifted uncomfortably. Some had supported him before. None would now. Then the vote was called. Removal from position. Immediate effect. The result was unanimous, but the consequences didn't stop there. The insurance lawsuit followed. The amount was more than money. It included legal fees, damages, and penalties. The total climbed rapidly. Assets were frozen. Accounts reviewed. The man who once enforced rules now stood powerless before them. Outside, Ethan's father watched quietly. He didn't smile. He didn't celebrate. He simply placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder. Justice, he knew, didn't need noise. News of the lawsuit spread beyond the neighborhood. What once felt private became public overnight. Local papers picked up the story. Headlines questioned HOA power and personal accountability. Residents from nearby communities reached out, sharing similar experiences, relieved that someone had finally pushed back. The former HOA president tried to defend himself online, but every post was met with facts. Screenshots. Policies. Timelines. The truth followed him everywhere. Meanwhile, the insurance payout arrived. $2 million transferred, clean and final. Ethan's father didn't rush to replace the car. Instead, he donated a portion to restoration programs and community projects. The gesture surprised many. He explained simply that the car represented patience, care, and respect. Those values mattered more than metal. The HOA restructured completely. New leadership. Transparent rules. Open communication. What began as destruction forced real change. Ethan realized something important. Power unchecked always reveals itself eventually. Sometimes through noise. Sometimes through silence. And sometimes through a mistake so large it can't be ignored. But the story still had one final moment left, a quiet ending that no one expected. Months later, a letter arrived without return address. Inside was a handwritten apology. The former HOA president admitted everything. Fear. Ego. Control. He confessed that he never imagined the car was worth that much, or that the consequences would follow him so completely. Losing the position was one thing. Losing reputation was another. Losing financial security changed him. Ethan's father read the letter slowly, then folded it carefully. He didn't respond. Instead, he invited Ethan into the garage. In the center sat a new project. Not a replacement, but a beginning. A simpler car, restored not for value, but for joy. They worked together quietly, side by side. No rush. No pressure. Just time and purpose. The destroyed car had taught the entire community a lesson. But it also reminded one family of what truly mattered, and as the engine turned over for the first time, Ethan smiled, knowing the story had reached its final truth. The HOA president thought power meant control, but he learned too late that responsibility is heavier. The $2 million car was gone forever, but its impact remained. Policies changed. People paid attention. Neighbors spoke up. And one family walked away with dignity instead of bitterness. Ethan's father never sought revenge. He let the system work, let facts speak, and let consequences land where they belonged. In the end, justice didn't shout. It simply stood firm. This wasn't just an HOA story, it was a reminder that every action leaves a mark, and every choice has weight, and that was the final twist in this unbelievable HOA story. If you loved the drama, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment sharing your thoughts. It really helps this channel grow.